So this is an image of a 13-year-old girl in South Africa. She killed this antelope and she kept the skin and the horns. So trophy hunting is the hunting of wild game for human recreation. The trophy is the animal or the part of the animal that is kept to represent the success of the hunt. The game that they go after is typically large males with horns or antlers or something that's impressive. The motives behind this type of hunting is not to get food or meat, but to obtain the animal parts for display, bragging rights, or status. Hunters use cruel methods like baiting or canned hunting to get these animals. Canned hunting is where there's pretty much a ranch of animals to be shot. I grew up around hunting. There's like racks of antlers in my garage, and I think, like many, that there's a difference between meat hunting and trophy hunting. When you use the whole animal, you're making use of what you caught and not simply just doing it for status. I believe in, because of this, that it should be banned. So I'm going to talk about why it should be banned, why someone might think it shouldn't, and how we should go about that. So to begin, it throws off the evolutionary balance of animals. As shared in the article Lion Hunting by William Crossmary, published by DOI, the dynamics of lion populations are particularly sensitive because they're removing the pride males, and along with that, removing more males than females from the population. The animals that are targeted have these desired traits, and the new offspring will no longer have the desired traits because they're not available as often. And the males are typically the ones killed, so again, that produces more males and less females in the population and throws off the gender balance. Along with that, trophy hunting brings up issues surrounding animal welfare. This is Cecil the lion. Cecil the lion was very popular. In the article Cecil, A Movement or a Moment, written by David MacDonald, it's talked about how he was well known in the village he lived in. He had a satellite tracking collar. People were researching him, and he was shot with one arrow that did not kill him, and then 11 hours later he was shot with another arrow by the same hunter that eventually killed him, and he was seen walking around within that time span, suffering. So this is one example that caused a lot of publicity. Jimmy Kimmel did a section on him and got a lot of feedback. This is because he was so well known with the people before his death, and along with that he was killed in a cruel way. And it's suspected that the way he was killed was illegal because they destroyed the satellite tracking collar after for an unapparent reason. This animal was killed using dogs to track it down, which has now been banned because that led to overhunting because it became too easy for the dogs to find the animals. People defend trophy hunting because they say that the money that people spend on it goes into animal conservation and anti-poaching efforts. People purchase these permits at auctions. In 2015, a man in Texas paid $350,000 to kill a white rhino, and the man who killed Cecil paid $55,000. This chart kind of shows those expenses and what people pay for them in different countries, the lion being the most expensive, the Cape buffalo is the cheapest at about $1,300. An article published by the New York Times in 2016, Jada Smith shared that when assessing the flow of the revenue from trophy hunting, there were many examples of the funds either being diverted or not even going to conservation in the first place. There's corruption in the governments of some of these countries, and that leads to the money being allegedly put into the pockets of politicians. And along with that, it doesn't necessarily even make sense to be conserving animals by killing them. Along with that, the amount of money made by an animal is not maximized by it being killed, as shared in the work Environmental Ethics in Trophy Hunting, published by DOI, written by Alistair Gunn in 2001. The same lion a trophy hunter would kill in Kenya could produce millions of dollars from people who are wishing to photograph it or just view it. So it is important to raise money from the animals, but not necessarily by killing them. There have been certain bans put into place to work to change this issue. The easiest way to stop it is to ban the import, because if people can't import the trophy back to the U.S., then there's not really a point of it. But there are an average of 126,000 trophies imported yearly. According to the article, President Trump once criticized the horror of trophy hunting. Now he's lifting a ban, published by Time and written by Joseph Hicks. The Fish and Wildlife Services now consider imports on a case-by-case basis as opposed to just banning it. So there are a lot of ways to get around it. Groups such as the Humane Society and Save the Elephants say it's really not a good idea because even in these countries they're taking the money and putting it in their own pockets. Lots of groups are working towards better regulation and banning the imports completely. Priscilla Farrell, who's the president of Friends of Animals, which is a really big animal rights group, shares that hunting is a violent and degrading way with no biological or moral justification. It's very unfair to the animals, especially the ways that they're canned up or tracked down, and the motive is simply for status. So one of the easiest ways to make a change is to sign petitions. It's really easy to find them online, and I can recommend the Humane Society International one, which is really popular and reliable, and I hope that you guys are inspired to sign that. Thank you.